This All Things Cybersecurity webinar is brought to you by ACI Learning. Be bold, train smart. And also brought to you by TechNado. New episodes every Thursday at 10 a.m. New episode was released today. Go check that out on the IT Pro YouTube channel. And don't forget, coming up in October very soon, we are going to be at Wild West Hackin' Fest, October 8th through the 11th in Deadwood, South Dakota. The IT Pro team will be there, and we hope to see you there too. Welcome to another All Things Cybersecurity webinar. We're super excited to have you with us and excited to have our guest on today as well. I'll leave you in suspense for just a little bit. I'm Sophie Goodwin, if you don't already know me, and I'll be one of your hosts for today, but I'm not alone. I'm joined by Daniel Lowrie. I was going to give you some kind of a qualifier like, the lovely Daniel Lowrie, but
they're like, oh, this guy. Yeah, I've seen him.
What'd you say that one time? You were like in a course and you're like, my dear Daniel, and it just like set me laughing.
Oh, yeah.
You said something about
Daniel,
like,
my Daniel. That's what I said.
You were like, well, how about this, my dear Daniel?
Yeah.
And I just, it got me. It got me. So yeah, that's you, my dear Daniel.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, it's going to be a fun one today. Hello. It feels like it's been a while. It always feels that way because time just moves so quickly. But August 1st came really quick.
Unchained Melody.
Huh?
Never heard the song Unchained Melody?
No, I don't believe I have.
Yeah.
Unchained Melody. Okay. Yeah, I'll look it up later, and I'm sure I'll recognize it when I hear it. And we're looking forward to hearing your questions as well today, whether you're watching on YouTube or from LinkedIn, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you so much for being here. Start to put your questions in the chat for Daniel and for our guest. Daniel, who?
Chat.
Yeah, in the chat, in case it wasn't clear on your device. Right.
That's where you put them.
That's where you could type them.
We get them.
Or use like a voice assistant, like an Alexa.
Yeah.
And just narrate.
Just tell it, hey, Alexa, ask this question.
Yeah. Hey, Alexa, good night.
Yeah.
So Daniel, I think you actually, I have not yet met our guest in person, but I think you have. So
I did.
Maybe you can enlighten us.
Well, I can enlighten you to, his name is Mishaal Khan, and hacker extraordinaire. I will say that's my moniker. I don't know if he'll take it, but I'm gonna go ahead and call him that. Super nice guy, man. Really smart dude. Has a lot of knowledge and experience in the business of cybersecurity. So we're really happy to have him on the show today. We didn't get to hang out for a very long period of time because we were doing Hackspace Con. I think it was kind of a meet and greet in the hallway.
Okay,
hey,
gotcha.
Nice to meet you. Kathy got everything set up as far as like he's gonna become on all Things Cyber. I was like, awesome. I know of some of your stuff, so it's going to be great to have him. I say we'll ask him those like personal questions.
Yeah.
Let him introduce himself the way he wants to be introduced. What do you say?
Yeah, I agree.
What say ye?
Judge, eyes
Put it in
have
the comments.
Right?
Yeah.
Eyes have it.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, hey, without further ado, I say we bring him in on the conversation.
Let's do it.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, glad to be here.
All right, it's going to be a good day.
It's going to be a good day.
I'm looking forward to it. So, Mishaal, I know that, of course, this is your first time as a guest on All Things Cyber. We are going to be taking questions from those that are watching, and later on in the show, we will have a rapid fire segment. And, maybe we'll just leave the suspense surrounding that, leave a little sense of mystery around that.
We'll explain it when we get there. It's a lot of fun. That way we get a lot more questions in. So, a lot of times we'll run out of the time to get through exhaustively the questions that get asked us here. So the rapid fire session is going to be for kind of as fast as we can get through some questions so that more people get their questions answered.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So from what I understand, Mishaal, I know this, this isn't like an official question. This is just a me question, but it seems like OSINT and social engineering and all that kind of stuff, that's kind of your bread and butter. So maybe you can enlighten me on that. Like what is it that makes you tick? What is it that you enjoy about that stuff?
I enjoy challenges. So OSINT presents a lot of the solutions to those challenges. When I see something in cybersecurity, mostly it's a puzzle that needs to be solved, and the skills of OSINT help you solve a lot of the different types of those puzzles, challenges. I'm a very result-oriented person. I look for solutions. I see a problem and I don't ponder on it too much. I'm like, let's find a solution. And that's what kind of draws me towards this field of OSINT, which is not just people hunting, it's networks, it's news, it's verification, it's geointelligence, it's social engineering. It's a bit of everything, honestly, and that's why I love OSINT.
Yeah, it's super cool. I know that anytime I'm at a convention or just in general lurking the interwebs as you do, there's a lot of buzz around OSINT because it seems to be wicked fun times to be able to do it. And not only that, but the practical side of having some wherewithal to do OSINT can be extremely helpful to society. We see a lot of people that, and when they're learning OSINT, they use those skills to find missing persons and solve mysteries and things of that nature. Have you done any of that stuff?
A lot, yeah. I would say in my spare time, or the little spare time that I have from outside my work, I spend it using my skills to help protect people, help find bad guys, help people get justice from scams, sextortionists, stalkers, people who just want to hide behind the internet, hide behind veils. I'm like, you know what? I have these skill sets and I can get certain amount of results from this. Let's help out people as much as I can. And I strongly believe if I don't, these skills will diminish and I won't value them as much. So I'm like, this is what I do on the side. So it motivates me.
Well, that is super awesome. And we need more people like you with those skills, using them to help and benefit society, and not just, like you said, there's so many of these really not awesome people out there doing not awesome things. So the fact that we have, our side of the fence, someone helping. And let me ask you this though. This is a question that kind of burns inside of me that I always want to know, because I don't do OSINT for a living. What's and with all your experience, I guarantee, what's the craziest thing that you've seen people put on the internet? Or maybe a better question is, are you surprised at how much people put their lives on the internet?
I am kind of surprised, but I also don't blame people for it because they don't see the other side. So their goals and intentions are communications. They want, their kids' pictures online, their personal pictures there with their information on where they are, their location, all those things. When I see this, I go in cringe mode. I'm like, why? Bad guys are looking at this and they're going to misuse this, but they don't know. So I don't blame them for it. That's why part of my job becomes education and awareness. So all the talks that I do throughout the year, they're mostly focused around awareness, letting people know that this exists out there, bad people exist, and this is what they're going to do. They can order poop online and order to your doorstep. You'll never know who did it. And it starts becoming annoying. And then they can have services like bricking, where they can hire someone, pay someone $50 and throw a brick at your house just because they didn't like the comment you posted on Twitter or X or LinkedIn or whatever. And it's so easy for them to abuse the little pieces of information that you post online. Once they find this out, they're like, oh my God, what do we do next? And that's where I come with the solutions and say, privacy, take it a little bit more seriously. And here's how you can kind of scrub yourself from the internet. Here's how you can be more private. And I think the yin yang of this is like the OSINT side and then the privacy side. They're polar opposites. And I demonstrate one to show the other and vice versa.
That's really interesting. I'm so glad you brought it, because I was going to ask you if we're doing all this, and like you say, awareness is low on how attackers or just threats out there in general are using this information kind of against us, then what would be the solution for us? And it is to just go hard into privacy, right? It would be to increase as much privacy protection as we can, and hopefully even start to build in a lot more privacy into the applications that we use, would you say? And have you seen that as trending?
Yeah, I see two sides of privacy. There's a personal privacy and then there's corporate or business privacy.
Sure.
So on the business side of things, you see all these hacks. Like I collect data breaches for fun. I have, terabytes of data breaches, and I go through them and I show people, I'm like, look, you were in XYZ breach or whatever, and here's the information that was in the breach. Your social security number was there, your home address was there, and people start questioning, why was it there? Like, why do they need that for the website to function? I'm like, yeah, they don't. This is extra information that they're collecting. So from a business side, businesses need to be very careful on what information they ingest in their databases, because it is going to get breached. It's not when or all those things. It's going to happen eventually. So when it does, make sure you're making that breach useless for the bad guys. It has just basic username, passwords, which are encrypted or hashed, and that's it. Why are you storing all that extra information that does not benefit your business? I mean, I'm sure they're selling it to others and that's how they're benefiting from it, but it doesn't benefit the functionality of the service that they're offering. So from a business perspective, that's what I consult businesses. I say, store only things that you absolutely need and consider what happens when you get breached and how bad it looks. And then on the personal side, I say the same thing to people. Why are you giving out this information? Say no. Say no at every step of the way. Say, no, I don't want to put in my home address. Put in a junk address if you have to. I don't want to give you my phone number because you're going to abuse it. I don't want to give you a real email address because it's going to be out there in a leak eventually, and I'm going to start getting phishing and scam emails. So that's the personal side of privacy. We need both, and we need both now.
Would you say people should go as far as creating like sock puppet accounts and buy burner phones and that kind of stuff? I mean, honestly, it would be nice to be able to, because a lot of stuff that you just sign up for because you wanted to get the free pizza deal or whatever the case is, they are just harvesting so much information about you through these mechanisms, and that's why you get the free pizza. That's why you get access to all these
it's free,
different
but not really.
things. Yeah, it's you are the product. Right. They really, you're paying for it by giving them this information. So is it out of the realm of possible, or not even the possibilities, but would you say that it would be, a good thing? Yeah, worthwhile. Is the juice worth the squeeze for an individual who's out there who says, you know what, I just want to step up my privacy a little bit. Let me go buy a track phone from Walmart and create a couple of email accounts with some profiles at hither and yon and use those for those purposes?
It really depends on the individual's threat level. We say the same thing in cybersecurity. Do a threat assessment, do a security risk assessment. I say do a privacy risk assessment as well. See where you lie on the privacy risk realm. Are you a public figure? Do you have to have your face, your voice, your video online because of your livelihood? Most of us do. That's how we earn money. If you don't, your risk level is different. Can my voice be cloned? Can my face be cloned with deepfakes and stuff? Yes and no. The answer is going to vary for everyone else. So understand your risk level on what you need to protect. Some people, yes, they need to protect their face, their voice, their home address. I say start with the things that can affect you the most. For me, it's my home address. I don't want it to be public. I don't want someone, coming to my home and threatening me, my family, or whatnot. And so for me, that's my priority list. Then my phone number is maybe secondary. Only my close friends would have my real, true phone number. Everyone else would get maybe a burner, a voice over IP phone number that still rings to me, but I can get rid of it at will if someone starts abusing it. With emails, you mentioned the free pizza deals and all that stuff. I have lots and lots of burner emails. No one knows my true personal email except, for either business purposes or personal friends and family. Everyone else, these companies get, a burner email that I still receive the email, but, they don't have my true email address. They can't abuse it. There's no login screen next to it. It's they can't really cause much harm because of it. So there has to be a certain privacy infrastructure, I call it, with certain, alias email addresses, alias accounts, burner addresses even. So like I have a PO box, for example. If something needs to come in my name, it goes to my PO box. So that's not my home address, yet I need to give it out for certain official things, let's say. So you have to pick and choose your threat levels. I've chosen mine. I've kept that balance where, yes, my presence is online because I need it for business, but other personal information isn't. Why does my family need to be part of this? I'm not on social media like Facebook, Instagram, and stuff, so that information cannot be misused or used against me. My family's information, my home information, anything else I do in my personal life. So I guess everyone needs to take a step back, not go extreme, but have a certain baseline privacy infrastructure set up, and then move forward depending on where you want to go, what you're comfortable with. But at least set that baseline. And to what you said earlier, most people don't even have a basic privacy understanding at this point, and that's why they're being used and abused by all these companies and bad guys.
I guess go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like a lot of that stuff is stuff that you hear about influencers or social personalities, celebrities, things like that, doing things like having a PO box, right?
Sure.
Where there will be YouTubers that will accept stuff from fans, but they're not trying to give out their home address. I don't know if it's as much anymore, but I know like 5, 6, 7 years ago, some YouTubers that I would watch would accept stuff like that, but it was always a PO box. They would maybe have a number where you could like, hey, we'll chat, but it's always like a secondary number, right? They're never going to give out their personal phone number. But I guess we're at a point now where everybody's online and everybody has some kind of a presence
Well,
online.
and what's the common like rebuff to privacy that we tend to hear is, I've got nothing to hide.
Yeah.
Right? How do you answer that kickback on increasing your personal privacy or just being a privacy advocate in general to someone who says, I got nothing to hide?
Or just, I'm not a big enough personality to be a target.
What do I got that they would want?
Yeah.
Right. I give examples to that. I say, okay, today you have nothing to hide, or today you have nothing to fear from a personal privacy perspective. Tomorrow that may change. Why aren't you taking proactive actions? Tomorrow you may win the lottery and your face and home address and everything will be advertised online. Suddenly all crooks and thieves know where you are and you have $1 million. Or tomorrow you're on an interview somewhere and you discover something big or do something great and suddenly you're a public figure now. What do you do then? It's too late to scrub your footprint and to take care of your privacy then. So be proactive about it. Also, that's one scenario. What about a scenario where you're in the wrong place at the wrong time? Someone starts to misuse your information, or it's so easily freely available, like the AT&T breach had, social security numbers, home addresses and stuff. Now you're a target and a victim of identity theft. You didn't ask for it, but you're being targeted. Why didn't you put those credit freezes when I told you to? Why didn't you hide or scrub your email address or your home address when you had the opportunity to? Now you're being targeted for no rhyme or reason of your own. So things happen. You will fall a victim to certain things that you're not responsible or you don't control then, but you have the opportunity to control it now. So take proactive measures. I think it's the same analogy in cybersecurity that we use. Put MFA, use a password manager, privilege escalation, all those things. Yeah, do it now so that you're protected later on in the future when bad things happen, not if.
Excellent answer. Excellent answer. Constantly hear that one. So I'm so glad to have
somebody that's got knowledge
the
and experience
credentials as
in this.
well,
Yeah.
right? Yes, to say, here's why, and great answers, because that tends to be our problem. We do not think future, big picture. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I got nothing to hide. Big deal. But you never know what tomorrow brings.
That's true.
So it's insurance, really.
You could be the next YouTube star.
You could. You never
don't
know.
Your Minecraft videos are 2 seconds away from blowing up.
You get in an interview in the street, you say something funny.
That's true.
And then you
might not even want that.
You got
also in my case.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true. That's
in my case, I go after bad guys. I go after stalkers.
Yeah.
I go after people who don't want to be found. And in return, if they find out who I am, maybe they can get to me because my OPSEC is pretty good, my security is pretty good. But then they start targeting my loved ones, my family members, my friends. They're like, all right, we know who others are, and their OPSEC and their security isn't that great. So now I'm putting others at risk because of what I do. So put yourself in those shoes as well. If you don't care about yourself, and I have nothing to hide, but what about people around you? Because that's what most social engineers and hackers do. That's what I do when I'm paid to do ethical hacks to organizations and say, hey, target this executives, this CEO, and he spent a lot of money on protecting his or her personal identity and presence and stuff. I'm like, you know what? Let me go to his wife's social media account, and now I know where their kids go to school. Now I know where they live and pretty much everything about them. It's someone else who gives it away. So it becomes much bigger than you. So I say, don't be selfish. Don't just, think about yourself. Think about the people around you that you may inadvertently affect due to your lack of privacy.
Mishaal, your knowledge and tradecraft are both strong, and we're so glad to have you today. Let's get to the questions from the audience. So what do you say there?
Absolutely. We are starting to get questions from Zoom and from YouTube, and I think from LinkedIn as well. So we'll start with one from Zoom. This comes from Nate. Nate wants to know, what helpful resources, especially free ones, do you recommend for beginners to the idea of cybersecurity? Pretty common question, I think, that we get. Yeah.
Yeah, I would give you the same advice where I started off. Like, I'm all about free resources. I've always gone to YouTube channels and looked at a topic of interest. If it's social engineering, I'll go through all the videos that are out there for social engineering. I'll read the best book that's been published on that topic, and I'll start doing exercises. So as soon as I get the baseline knowledge of it, which should all be free, if your company's paying for a few of these things, go for it. Have them foot the bill. But I'm not a big advocate of paying a lot for these things. Pay for what you can. In this case, for good resources, get certified in a certain field to kind of put that stamp of seal on it so that it helps you in the job market as well, that you're certified whatever XYZ. And that's how I go about my way of learning better things. Read blog articles and then implement it immediately. As soon as you have the knowledge, start testing it, start using it, whether it's ethical hacking, go test it on either test environments that you create or offer your services to nonprofits. So many people need these high level services and they can't afford it. I started off with helping the nonprofits in my area and saying, hey, church, mosque, synagogue, whatever in my area or school district, do you need a vulnerability scan? I'm not that good at it, but I want to practice on your environment. And now I got some knowledge around it. So those are the things I constantly do. 5, 6 different places of getting knowledge and then implementing it and then becoming better at it. And once you specialize in one, then move on to the next one and just keep expanding that way.
Any personal faves that you've encountered out there?
I always like the training by, offered at Wild West Hacking Fest and what do you call, what's their training?
Are you talking anti-siphon training?
Yeah, anti-siphon is pretty good at that because they bring a wide variety of different types of trainings. It's all free, pay what you can style model. So there's no really gatekeeping happening there. There's TCM. A lot of their training is pretty good as well. Those are the big ones that do it on a regular basis. And any other training, I would say, that's on YouTube. I mean, there's no excuse at this point to really say I couldn't find something. Of course you can. YouTube and the Google has almost everything at this point. Yeah,
it just becomes kind of a, how much sweat equity are you willing to put into this? Yeah. You can find just about anything you're looking for as free. And
put in the hours.
Yeah.
I always say, I mentor a lot of kids in this industry, and one thing I always tell them is put in the hours. Understand what you're doing in the day, and if you think you're putting in the hours, let's count the hours. I once interviewed someone and said, describe to me what you do in a day. You say you work really hard. Like, I play the PlayStation for 3 hours in a day, 5 hours. I watch Netflix movies. I'm like, how much time do you have left for these studies for yourself for making you better at your job? It's like, 1 or 2 hours. I'm like, well, flip that around. That's what I do. 6-7 hours in a day, I'm doing stuff to develop my own skill set, and maybe 1 or 2 hours a week I'm watching a movie or something. You need to let go of certain things so you have time to develop yourself. So do a self audit and increase the amount of knowledge that you get in, at least for a certain period of time until you're where you want to be.
You see, he's got wise words for everyone here today.
You get out of it what you put in.
It's really easy to be short-sighted. You're right. You get out what you put in. It's easy to be short-sighted to think, I just want to play my game. I just want to watch some show and sit back and relax. Had a hard day at work. You're doing X, Y, and Z. It doesn't matter what it is. Everybody's job is hard usually. And you just want some downtime. But think of it more of the idea, let me just burn the candle at both ends for 6 months. Where I go to work and then I get off of work, and instead of watching TV and playing video games, I eat dinner, take a shower, and then I sit down at my desk and I start learning something. And I develop a plan. I want to learn this technique. I want to learn that tool. And I'm not going to stop until I kind of feel like I have a good grasp on that. I've done some experimenting with it. And then I'm going to get up early tomorrow morning and I'm going to do it again. Then I'm going to go to work and you're just kind of power hour for, like I said, 6 months. You'll be surprised at how far you'd get down the road and what you could accomplish. And now you can kind of start letting off the gas a little bit. Not that you can ever stop, but you just have to put that investment into yourself. Take that time, learn those things, find those resources, and then you'll be farther down the road than you expect you will be.
Yeah. Seems like that is generally the case.
It is.
And I feel like if you're doing something that you're really excited and passionate about, not that it's not work, right? But
yeah, of course.
Maybe it's feels less, you dread it less. It's not like I got to come home from work and then I got to sit down and do this. It's like, well, if it's something you're excited and passionate about and you want to learn, then yeah, it should, even if it's still hard work, it's something you probably look forward to, right?
And I always tell people, if this was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to do it. Tell me I'm wrong, right? This is so many people trying to flood into the cybersecurity gate because everybody wants to do it, but it is not an easy job. There's a lot that goes on with it. There's a lot of things to learn. You can't just know one thing or the other and just kind of, not that you won't find niches that you're really good at, but
sure. But it's good to have a
you have
variety.
to have a general knowledge of just about everything. It's so much, right?
Yeah. We'll have a well-rounded knowledge base.
Yep.
That's true. That's a good point. Well, I think that was a great question from Nate.
Question.
We got other questions coming in from Zoom and YouTube and LinkedIn. We'll grab another one from Zoom. Ricky wants to know, with the recent AI trends, does that pose a positive or negative impact on the field of cybersecurity? I would imagine probably, depending on what we're talking about, both. Am I wrong?
Yeah. I think in the short term, it's negative in terms of the hacks that are happening because the bad guys are using it faster than the good guys are. But the cybersecurity companies are catching up. They are putting in, AI, quote unquote, in their products. And I say that jokingly because they've used the term AI for years now, when it wasn't really AI, it was more machine learning or just an algorithm. But that's besides the point. I would say the bad guys are misusing AI technology faster than we're actually using it through like voice cloning and deep fakes and writing better social engineering emails and websites and stuff like that. So they're on top of their game. The defenders aren't so much because of, big corporations, bureaucracy, products, and, supply chain, all that good stuff or bad stuff. But we're getting there. It's always a cat and mouse game. And I look at AI as just another tool in the tool set for both sides. How we use it can be good or bad, just like any other tool.
And speaking of tools, and you tell me if your experience is different than mine, but it seems to me that tools can be utilized for nefarious reasons a whole lot easier than they can be to keep things safe and secure and do the things that they were probably intended to do. It's like AI, right? AI is supposed to be a very helpful tool, and it is in a lot of ways, but it just seems to be such an easy thing to turn into a weapon. It's like, why does that seem to be the case? It's such an odd thing to me, but is that your experience as well, that it's so easy just to turn these things into weapons against us?
Yeah, and it's not just AI. You look at all the other cybersecurity tools we have, they're dual purpose. Look at Kali Linux. Almost every tool in there helps attackers and helps defenders. You look at vulnerability scanners. I tell people, I'm like, let me run a scan on your environment, because if I don't, someone else will for free. These are the hackers who are running. They're actually running vulnerability scans on all public facing IPs and stuff. So let's use those same tools, run it on ourselves, and test it out before someone else does. And, all tools are used like that. AI is just that next tool that's getting into the news more often because it's that flashy tool. But yeah, we should be using it for protecting ourselves. And we're slow at it, like any other tool, but we're getting there.
It's so funny. You'll get a free penetration test with the added bonus of a breach. Like, talk about your red team engagement, right? Like, they really go. Yeah, you went too far there, guys. Whoa, yeah, you're stealing all my money and doing bad things. So let's not do that. Ransomware, right? Am I right? Yeah.
At least you know what you're getting. As soon as you see those encrypted files, you know.
Oh, just wait. You get a bonus prize of double extortion.
Yeah. Your files are unencrypted. Surprise.
So listen, we unencrypted those files, but if you want them not to be published on the internet, I'm going to need more money.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Well, I think that was a pretty relevant topic. I think AI tends to come up a lot. Anytime you're listening to any kind of a podcast or show or whatever, AI always seems to be a buzzword. So, great question from, I think that was Ricky from Zoom. I'm going to grab one from YouTube next. Val from YouTube wants to know, they said, while job searching, I'm uncomfortable about giving my home address, phone number, email, and social security number in applications only to be ignored. Should I be worried about giving out this info? I honestly... I haven't applied. I've been here a while. I haven't had to apply for a job in a long time. God bless. But I didn't. That's not something I would have thought about, because you are so, I got to apply for this job. I need to be making money. I got to be employed. Okay, they want a phone number. Okay, they want an address. Well, that makes sense.
But putting it on your resume.
Right. That's true. But if you're not publishing on the internet and you're only sending it to places that you're applying, and then, to be ignored anyway, is there a risk in that? Or is it just like I'm just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, and if they don't respond, they're not going to use that information.
Yeah, and Mishaal, you mentioned how often you bump into these corporations that you are doing providing services for, and that you're having to tell them, don't keep all this data. If you don't need it, what are you keeping it for? Are they doing that? Are they, if I'm turning in a resume, are they just keeping it filed away on some server somewhere for no good reason? Why do they do this? And then what's the risk to us?
Yeah, so let me give you my context on it, because I collect data breaches. You'll see all this personal information in these data breaches. But just besides even data breaches, before that happens, go on all these major job search websites that are out there, the top 5 or 10 big ones, where people upload their resumes, and it's kind of public at that point, and ask them for their data back. Log in and say, give me a copy of whatever you have on file on me. And you'll be surprised on the information that they store on you. I've done it for all the major ones, and I was in that same boat 15 years ago or something, when I was like just giving out my CV to everyone out there. 100 plus companies had my resume, and I was desperate. And I had my phone number and email address, and I didn't have my home address on it. But those two pieces of information were on all of their personal databases. When I asked for that information back, I was surprised they had like 60 other items on there. My IP address, which can eventually reveal my home address, everything I clicked on that website, everything I ever uploaded, and referral links. And there was so much useless information there. I mean, useless to them, but it would expose a lot about me. And then they were reselling my phone number to other companies. And I would start getting spam calls from companies I never gave my phone number to, emails and all that stuff. And this is why you get a lot of mail, junk mail, snail mail at your home, because you apply for a credit card at bank A, and then suddenly bank B starts sending you mail, because they're sharing information. When they get breached, now the bad guys have it. But even before they get breached, your information is getting abused in some database. So I would say to this, like, if the companies are not listening, they're still collecting this information for monetary purposes, because they benefit off of this by reselling it, you can stop this. Stop giving your information out to these companies. Sure, you need to apply for a job. Give them exactly what they need for you to apply for a job, which is your resume and all the details, but they don't really need a phone number. You can give them a VoIP number. Get a Google Voice number. Let that number be abused. You'll still get the call forwarded to you, but at least they don't have your personal cell phone number. Now, if someone else has that, they can't do a SIM swap attack, which does happen when you become a target. They steal your phone number. So protect yourself from that. Email address. Make a new junk email address for such things, for applications and stuff. So let them have an alternate email address. They don't need a home address. They certainly don't need a social security number. Maybe not at this time. Once you get the job offer, the letter, everything's been accepted, you've signed, now they need to run a background check on you. Sure, then provide them with a social security number, additional information if you have to. But until that point, don't give it out.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, exactly. Have you seen? I guess what I'm trying to ask is, have you had any experience with GDPR, and has GDPR done much to alleviate some of these issues with their whole right to be forgotten and data ownership and all that stuff? Has that been helpful in these ways?
It's been helpful in scaring companies, I would say, because here's a reality check, which a lot of big companies don't like me saying, but I'll say it anyways. Almost every company I've done assessments for, like whether it's PCI, HIPAA, GDPR, either audits or assessments, I would say almost 100% of them have failed, because nobody's following these rules. It's a compliance checkbox. They're like, sure, GDPR, we're kind of compliant. And then when you actually do audits, I'm like, why are you storing this information? Can it be deleted? There's a right to be forgotten clause in this. They're like, sure, we can delete it on request, and it's like, fill out these 50 forms, click here, click there. Oh, our website is done. I'm like, practically speaking, you're not allowing people to fulfill that clause of right to be forgotten, or you're not really deleting the information. It's still in your backup somewhere, or you've sold it without my permission. That's a violation. And they're like, yeah, but who's checking and who's auditing? And most of the times it's like that. And it shocks me. I'm like, isn't there a law about this? Aren't you like CCPA, the California equivalent of that? They're not, because I live in this world where I'm like constantly bugging these companies, where I'm like, what information do you have on me? Give me a copy of it. And then now that I know what you have on me, now delete it. And they put in all these roadblocks in front of you. All right, send me a fax Are you kidding me? Where am I going to get a fax machine in this day and age? These are all unnecessary roadblocks not to comply, because they will try their best not to delete that data because they profit off of it. And then GDPR and CCPA don't apply to all companies. They only apply to certain subset of companies with a certain revenue, with a certain type of residential client, if it's California-based client, or for GDPR, if it's a European citizen. For the rest of them, it does not apply. So it's there to scare companies kind of into compliance, but in reality, when they do get breached, we see the real picture of, oh, you were still storing this data when you shouldn't have.
Yeah, if that's the case, it seems like they're a bit of a toothless tiger in a lot of ways. And it's probably why when we do see them get someone for a violation, they go for the jugular, right? They really try to really make them bleed for what they did so they can continue to be a boogeyman. Yeah. That's crazy. That's kind of scary too.
Yeah, this is why I'm of the opinion that you need to take care of your own privacy.
Yeah.
And we can't depend on laws and stuff because they're lagging. It'll come through when some big law firm sues them for $1 billion, and then they may change a few things back and forth. But even for them, it's pocket change, these fines currently, and it's hilarious. So I say, all right, take care of it yourself. Give them, some resistance when giving out your information. And for those purposes, I talk about this so much that I just created a website, and this is my little plug for that free tool,
Please.
operationprivacy.com. I'm like, go to operationprivacy.com, and all my trade secrets, quote unquote, are there. Everything I ever advise to my clients, people who I want to help out, I'm like, just go there. There's a glorified checklist there of things you should be doing from a privacy perspective. Do those. And they're like categorized from very simple things to very extreme things. If you want to be a ghost online, sure, that's for you as well. But if you just want to manage basic stuff, like, how do I do a credit freeze? Cool, it's there. How do I opt out of these 100 data brokers? Here's a checklist. Go through them one by one and DIY, do it yourself. Not charging anything. It's just, it's out there for the protection of the masses.
That's right. You want something done, you do it your dang self. That's right. OperationPrivacy.com. Everyone, OperationPrivacy.com. In case you just didn't miss it, OperationPrivacy.com for all your Operation Privacy needs.
Call today. Or go online, I guess.
That's right. Don't worry. I'm gonna blast that on LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
They may end up putting it in like a lower third too
Yeah.
later in the show, so that people can see if they forgot. But yeah, I'm glad that you plugged that, Mishaal, because that's something that we welcome here. We
Yes.
want guests to be able to plug their stuff. But I'm looking at the website and it's like all this stuff and it's free. And even there's like one paid option, but it's $9 a year. That's
Oh man. Okay.
Like-
Jeez.
like, are you kidding me?
And I'll tell you why that option is, because before it was all free, and then people are like, if it's free, you are the product. I'm like, you know what? It's not free. There's a $9 a year, a couple of cents a month, and that's just for the Amazon hosting fees where I host the server.
That
I
is
pay
funny.
$80 a month for the servers. I don't ask anyone to pay for those fees. I'll self-fund it, everything. But fine, you want that model? All right, there's a
You've
tiny
done-
little fee there.
You've done such a good job of teaching them that if it's free, you are the product. But now they trust nothing with the free tag on it. Like, no. It either has to be pay what you can. That's
Yeah.
as good as free, right? That's just another way of saying free.
Yeah, that's true. But $9 a year, I mean, that's like you pay double that for Netflix a month.
Yeah.
So it's like
Come
that's
on.
not bad
That's-
at all. So thank you for
Dig in
shouting
your
that
couch
out.
cushions and find $9.99.
Right.
Come
yeah,
on, man.
Exactly. So we do appreciate that. We do have some more questions. I don't know if y'all are. Oh, there we go. We got to pull
Oh,
up.
there's Operation Privacy.
Privacy.
Excellent.
Look at that. 3 different options.
That's right. We Googled it for you.
That's pretty cool. I'm definitely going to take a look at that
Very cool.
after
Very
we're done
cool.
here. You can never be too careful.
No, you cannot.
We do have some other questions coming in from YouTube and LinkedIn. We'll probably get into our rapid fire here in 5 or 10 minutes, but we got time for a couple
We
more.
got time for a couple more.
This one comes to us from Kelvin, who's watching on YouTube. Kelvin says, as an aspiring pen tester, how important is cloud security today and in the future? Is it the right move to focus more on the cloud?
Good question.
Good question.
Extremely important, since everything has been in the cloud for quite a number of years now, and the focus is cloud. Cloud security is, in my opinion, one of the most important areas of pen testing. There's all these other areas which are diminishing in terms of value, like wireless pen testing or internal network pen testing. A lot of companies don't even have an internal network anymore. It's completely in the cloud, or social engineering or physical pen testing. I would say web application pen testing and API pen testing, which is mostly hosted environments in the cloud. Those two are the top two. In fact, API pen testing, there's a huge demand and a very little supply for it. So I would say go towards these. There's an unlimited demand for websites these days to have all sorts of protection, from very basic small websites to extremely large portals with login screens with data stores behind them. People are paying really good money for web application pen testing nowadays. I do all sorts of pen testing, so I can tell you from a financial perspective, the best ones, the best payouts are on the web application side.
Yeah, they do have a lot of sensitive things hiding behind those web applications, and a lot of times they're not doing their due diligence on making sure that those things are secure in the sense. And of course, everybody has some type of web presence, so you're bound to find something where someone forgot or didn't think their way through that logic before they went ahead and pushed publish.
That's true. Yeah, everybody has lapses in judgment.
Yeah, and of course we lean on a lot of like off-the-shelf commercial software to help us do these things, and you got myriads of researchers out there every day. I mean, you can't. We do the TechNado, right? Our podcast. I could literally just do new vulnerability and new malware and never have an end. Probably do it daily, honestly. At very least weekly, because that's always happening. So, yeah, the more we hide behind web applications and APIs and the back end, that stuff kind of ends up falling on our providers, our AWSs, our GCPs, Azure, and that kind of stuff. And there's still pen testing into that as well. And good news is that AWS is real. I'm not as familiar with Azure. AWS is very open to pen testing, as long as you're not stress testing. They don't want you DOSing stuff, taking services down. But like, they have a really good pen testing policy if you've never looked at it. Yeah. We did
like a AWS cloud pen testing thing, but that was more like your own stuff that you're storing in the cloud, or was that like?
So yes. So here's the problem, and Mishaal, okay, maybe we'll get your opinion on this as well. The AWS platform or the Azure platform or whatever, there's just an application. It's just through the web that you interface with it. It still has issues, and I say issues, it can be abused. It's working correctly, right? But if you can find out ways in which you can utilize, because I set the wrong permissions, I allow too much access, I don't put any authorization, misconfiguration is where your bread and butter is going to be. Mishaal, when it comes to cloud pen testing, is that what you're seeing still as well?
Yeah, there's multiple types of cloud pen testing. So you touched on kind of two sides of it. One is the application pen testing. So you're just pen testing the client's application, which happens to be hosted on AWS. So your scope there is only that IP address, that virtual server that's there, or service, and you're only allowed to test that. You're not really testing the functions of AWS at that point. But then there's a different type of testing where you are, where they will give you certain user access rights within their AWS environment. And that's more of a risk security assessment or an audit of their configurations to see if they've maybe allowed too much permissions for certain things, or some tokens don't expire as they should, and little things like that. So there's architectural assessments like that, and then there's actual web application assessments, and companies need it all. And this is where your consultant hat comes in, and you have to work with them and not say, here's all the bad things we found in your website and here's how we could break it, but here's also how we can fix it. So you do need a lot of knowledge about the environment you're testing, first and foremost. You need knowledge about the programmers, the coders who spend a lot of time, fixing those issues, and you need knowledge transfer there too. So it's a very consultative approach and not just a hacker mindset where, haha, I broke your website, it's your problem to fix it. No, it's also your job to tell us how to fix it.
Yes. See, he understands. It's like you do this or something.
Almost like y'all do this for
weird.
a living.
It's very strange, man. just woke up this morning and was truck driving.
Woke up this morning. You say that. I'm watching The Sopranos right now, so when you say that, I think like woke up this morning, got yourself a gun.
Yeah.
It's like in my head constantly.
Man, I haven't heard that in a long time. So.
Blast from the past for you, but it's brand new for me. So
all things old are new again.
That's why we like to have guests like this on the show, because they offer some insight. I like that. So speaking of getting some insight, we are coming up close to the end of the hour, but we still have quite a few questions we'd like to get through. So it is time for that aforementioned rapid fire segment. Let's take a look. Mishaal, we promised we'd give you a brief explanation, so we've got the rest of these questions to get through. You will have 30 seconds to respond, give your input, whatever kind of answer you might have. You'll hear a sound when that time is up. So the goal is to beat the clock. We'll try to get through as many questions as possible. Sound good?
Let's go.
All right, we'll jump right in. Mike wants to know, what advice do you have for someone who wishes to start a career in cybersecurity?
Start implementing things you want to start a career in. Start doing it today, getting clients, do it for free, and then build your way up there and build your worth, build your brand, then go after the clients and present them your offering.
All right.
Dang, 15 seconds to spare.
That was very good. Yeah, beat the clock. All right.
Look at you. All right, well, let's move on. Let's see here. Cody from YouTube says, if I'm a noob to tech and want to enter cybersecurity, should I get the A+, Net Plus, Security Plus, or should I just skip straight to security? Run to the finish line, he says.
Well, noob to tech is you're predefining your field now. So if you do want to go into the technology side of cybersecurity, then yes, you must have a very strong baseline knowledge of networking, of programming, because without those two things, you're going to struggle on the technical side. When you're actually doing vulnerability scans or pen tests or audits, you're not going to know a lot of basic things if your tech knowledge is not good enough, and networking is probably the most important one there. But if your area isn't the technical side, then do something else like GRC.
Good point.
Mishaal speaking from experience. No.
That is
He
a
was
good
like,
point.
I made a horrible mistake. Went
fair
straight
enough.
to security.
Fair enough. Jeff from YouTube wants to know, what is the cost of a threat audit or privacy audit for just a normal everyday guy?
What is the cost of, cost in terms of a client's cost?
I would assume that
I
they're
would
saying,
assume,
if
like
I'm an
money.
individual and I came to you and I said, hey, could you do an audit for my personal self?
Oh, okay. It varies based on who you ask. So large companies will charge you anywhere from 5 to 10 grand for a audit type of report. Smaller ones may charge 2-3 grand. So it really depends on who's doing it. The more the person is an expert and investigator like myself, maybe I would charge on the higher end.
I would also assume that the higher profile the individual might cost a little more.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Right?
They know you got some dough.
A lot
They're gonna
more
charge
work.
you.
Plus, it's a lot more work because they're going to have a
Depends on the
public.
client.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
All right,
absolutely.
next question comes from Joseph from YouTube. I heard someone was giving some pretty good OSINT training at Wild West Hacking Fest. Happen to know something about that, Mishaal?
I heard that too. The buzz was all over the internet. And if I were you, I would jump on it and go take it.
Yeah. Agree to agree on that.
I would agree. That's not
I've heard good
controversial.
things.
That's
Going to change your life.
I've heard it's next level.
Yeah, like it'll make all your wildest dreams come true.
your wildest West dreams
Your
come true?
wildest West dreams come
Wow,
true.
it's all coming full circle.
Right.
Well, okay, I'm going to check it out when I go. I know that for sure. Tachi from YouTube wants to know, they say, I drive 3 hours a day to and from work, and I'm looking for a podcast to listen to help me with networking and Sec Plus. Any suggestions?
The podcast that I like to listen to, which kind of encompass most of these things, are story-based ones. So Darknet Diaries is probably top of the list there. Pretend is another one where if you're into social engineering and scams and stuff like that, the Pretend podcast is amazing. There's a few others that are more on the technical side, but I say listen to a lot of them, just a few episodes and whatever piques your interest. But Darknet Diaries would be my number one.
Do love the Darknet Diaries.
I've heard good things. I'm going to have to start listening.
Yeah, even if you're not technical, you're going to get sucked into the dang thing. It is that engaging.
There's good storytellers.
If you've never watched, and just the stories
He's
are
an
interesting.
amazing storyteller.
The people that he interviews and tells the stories about, or the attacks and things that have happened, it's just crazy. You're like, this is the world we live in. I'm kind of
believe,
afraid,
yeah.
but still like in awestruck as well. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where are we at? I'm sorry, Santiago from LinkedIn. Do you have a preferred browser that offers somewhat more privacy tools or protections than the rest?
I use Firefox as my daily browser for everything. Exceptions to that, maybe if something doesn't work because it's so locked down, I may use Chrome for that one-off thing, or Brave, which is also Chromium based. So Brave I would use as a secondary browser, but Firefox would be always my number one choice because of the way I can tweak it up, the configuration file, the plugins, the extensions. I can configure it as I want from a privacy and security perspective.
All right, fair enough. We are Firefox enjoyers here.
Firefox. I've been using
We love
Firefox
Firefox,
since
so you converted me.
Let's see here. I think I installed Firefox the first time in like 2004.
Oh, okay.
So, and
Yeah.
Even on my
fan
phone, I
ever
have
since.
Firefox.
Yeah.
So Firefox Focus or
That's
the
what's
full
up.
version.
I was a
Yep.
Chrome girly, but you converted me.
I
You
did.
converted me to Firefox, so I can appreciate that. Mohammed from LinkedIn wants to know, if somebody wants to move into a SOC analyst role on a junior level, I think, how can they get practical DLP experience hands-on so they can utilize it to step into the field?
Use the tools, because in most SOC roles they'll be using a couple of actual products and tools. So get familiar with those products, get demo licenses of those, and get hands-on experience, because the theory side is there using OSINT, threat assessments and stuff. But you really need hands-on experience with looking through logs and other DLP tools. Microsoft and Google both have DLP functionalities in their ecosystem and stuff. So depending on what product will be used, get familiarity with that.
All right.
It's same story, different chapter, ladies and gentlemen, right?
That's true, yeah.
It's out there. Get your hands on it. Start playing with it. See what it does. Mm-hmm. And then go, cool, I've kind of understand this now, and I can now utilize that and get some, and have that as an experience.
Hands-on. Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely.
All right, moving on to Wayne from LinkedIn. He asks, what are the best cyber ranges for OSINT?
So not a lot, because with OSINT it's hard to set up environments that don't change very often. So a CTF type of thing is very difficult for OSINT. So I wouldn't really recommend one that's really good or out there, because I don't do a lot of cyber ranges for it. But for threat assessments, there are quite a few that are more cybersecurity focused. So I wouldn't name any as such. I would just say practice with test targets.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It would be harder to emulate something like that, I think.
Right.
So,
You just got to go in the real, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Chris from YouTube says, I have a background in hacking video game consoles. How hard is it to learn to ethically hack from there? Nintendo's going to be knocking on your door.
I love subjective questions. How hard is it to learn something?
In your opinion. Yeah.
It's a good question.
Well, that's amazing, because my background, I started in cybersecurity with that. As a kid, I used to crack games like Doom, Doom 1, Doom 2, and a few others. I used to get cheat codes, and I used to look at the configuration files. I'm like, oh, here's a little, variable I can change in this, and then reload the game, and cool, I've skipped a level or whatever. So I took that interest and knowledge into the software side of things and said, all right, how can I protect companies from people like me who with malicious intent to destroy their software, to break it, to crack it, and stuff like that. So that knowledge, with great knowledge comes great responsibility. So use it responsibly, use it for good, and make a career out of it. Say, yeah, I have this skill, I can do this now. Make a business out of it and monetize it. That's the easy part.
That's it. With great power comes great responsitriloquence. Drax them clowns.
I forgot about that.
Drax them clowns. Kind of writing the tails of that question, Lewis from Zoom says, with all your knowledge, are you ever tempted to become a black hat hacker with all the fun they have? I'm gonna throw quotes around fun.
Yeah. Then you have fewer restrictions,
Always
I guess.
living a life.
Yeah.
Always worrying who's gonna knock on your door
Yeah.
and arrest you. I don't think that's fun.
Plus, what they
And
do with that
I
money
would
is
say-
usually not awesome.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and if you have all that knowledge, use it for good. The satisfaction you get personally from helping others, and with that knowledge, no amount of money can fulfill that. So these are people who are very short-term. They think very short-term. Ransomware, I'm gonna get a payout. What kind of life are you gonna live after that? So I would never go in that route. I've never been attracted to that route. It's always the other side, which is a better challenge for me.
That's right. Helping people is its own reward.
Yeah, helping people.
And it still is fun. You're still hacking, right? You're still doing cool stuff that requires high levels of technical expertise and knowledge to be able to pull off. So it's just as cool.
And you can put it on a resume. If you're doing stuff and it's like evil, seedy stuff.
And if you ever get caught, you don't have to explain that black mark on your res.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
what's this gap of 3 to 5?
That was a mental break. It took me a gap years.
That's the
what I was
ankle bracelet I had. So.
Yeah. It was hot jewelry at the time.
Absolutely. Well, we've got one more question, I think, for today. Chris from YouTube wants to know, with so much of my data already out there, is it even possible to make my data private?
It is, absolutely. Go to operationprivacy.com. It's a very long process, so I would never say it's going to take a week or a month. No, it's going to take 9 months to a year to get all that under control. But it's possible. I do it for a living. I do it for so many people, and the success rate is extremely high. Now, it depends on how extreme you want to go. It may not be possible for certain things, like to remove a certain government record or whatever, but there's alternate means. You can spread disinformation about your home address if you can't remove it. So there's so many strategies. Go on the website and contact me. I'll share a lot with you.
I love having this new resource to tell people, because I get asked all the time, and it's like, well, yeah, there's ways to do this, but it's kind of involved, and just be able to now point people to operationprivacy.com and go, just there you go. There's the blueprint. Enjoy, follow. Like I said, I can't wait to blast this out on LinkedIn. Even
for folks that aren't necessarily cybersecurity focused,
right.
My mom and grandma will ask that kind of stuff. They'll be like, you work with a bunch of people that know about this stuff. How can I do this? How can I do that?
And they're in a high risk group.
Yeah.
Right? They are the people that are getting targeted quite often because they know they have a low technical knowledge.
Sure. They're not looking out
so
for,
they take advantage
for
of
attacks
it.
like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great resource.
Indeed.
Thank you for sharing that,
Yes.
Mishaal. Besides Operation Privacy, we want to give you the opportunity, if there's anything else you want to plug. I don't know if you have, I know you're on LinkedIn. I don't know if you have like social channels or anything. So anything you want to plug, let us know.
My website, mishaalkhan.com, has the central source of information that I want to get out there. And I think the only social media I'm on right now publicly is LinkedIn. So those two channels would be my resources for people looking to find out more.
You mean you don't regurgitate the entirety of your life on like X and
TikTok,
Instagram?
Through alias accounts, I do check them, but there's nothing about me there.
Fair enough.
You are my hero, Mishaal. I'm not going to lie. I think I'm going to make a cool comic book or something about you, because we need to follow your example.
With AI generated images.
That's right. Well, I mean, I can't do it, so.
Well, that was definitely a lot of questions for today, Mishaal. Thank you so much for hanging with us for all of them and answering those. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you that are watching from YouTube, LinkedIn, and Zoom, we will have another one next month with none other than Jax Scott, so we hope to see you there. But otherwise, again, Mishaal, thank you for joining us. And for Daniel Lowrie, I'm Sophie Goodwin. Have a great day.